Now, I was thinking. So at his press conference the other day at Port St. Lucie, Juan Soto said that he joined the Mets because he felt that they had a better chance to get to the World Series than the Yankees did. And then Aaron Judge was asked about that, and he wasn't angry about it, but he said, well, I disagree. I think we have a better chance of getting to the World Series, but he could think what he wants. So there are so many layers to this. And listen, I think that Soto did the right thing for he and his family. He got the most money. He got a record-setting contract. He's going to be the face of the Met franchise for 15 years. He's essentially going to be a partner of Steve Cohen and Alex Cohen. He has his own luxury suite. His mom has her own clothing line. They have security. I mean, it's a great deal. It would have been tough for him to turn it down. And there were other offers made to him by the Yankees and by the Blue Jays, the Red Sox. I mean, there were teams that were in on Soto because Soto is a once-in-a-lifetime generational player. I should say generational. So that being said, rather than come out and say, you know what, I took the Met offer over the Yankee offer because they gave me more, an average of $5 million more per year. The contract was worth more. They gave me a lot of perks that, I wasn't going to get with the Yankees. It's all legitimate. Instead, he said, I think this team has a better chance to win than the Yankees. And in thinking about it, I've gone over it a lot. And, you can say that the teams are somewhat even in terms of talent, right? Because if you look at the PECOTA projections, after the signing of Alonso, the Mets' PECOTA projection jumped up significantly. And the Yankees and the Mets, if you look at all of the projection sites, there's a difference of 1 or 2 wins. Okay, so they're evenly matched. Now, the Mets have a higher payroll by about $20 million at this point than the Yankees. So I think they're like 324, and the Yankees are 304. So, I mean, that's essentially a number 5 starter if you really want to break down what $20 million means. But I don't look at how evenly matched they might be because I think the Yankee pitching is so far superior than the Met pitching that puts the Yankees over the Mets. Okay, but you can Yankee boy me all you want. But here's my point. Here's what I don't quite get. And even a Met fan would have to agree with this. If you're the Mets, getting to the World Series means that you have to get past the Phillies and the Braves in your own division. You've got to get past a much improved Cubs team in the Central. The always pesky Milwaukee Brewers. Watch out for the Reds this year because Terry Francona works his magic. But I don't think that's going to be a huge impediment to the Mets, but I'm just throwing that in there. And then you got to get past the teams in the West, which might be the best division in baseball. The Diamondbacks are outstanding. The Padres are really, really very good. The Giants have improved. And then you've got the $380 million Dodgers. So in order to get to the World Series, that's a lot of hurdles that the Mets have to jump. And it's going to be like that for a while now. Now, the Phillies, I think their shelf life is a little bit shorter than the other teams I mentioned because their roster is aging quickly. This might be their last year where you can look at them and saying, well, they've got a legitimate shot to win the World Series. After this, guys are hitting ages that it just doesn't seem viable that they can continue to play at this high level. JT Realmuto, Schwarber, Harper, whatever. I mean, you look up and down their lineup, there's a lot of, mid-30 guys there. And that's usually the beginning of the deterioration of skills. Now let's take a look at the Yankees' road to the World Series. Does anybody, and this is just for Met fans too, not just Yankee fans. Does anybody in the American League really frighten you? Like, say, the Dodgers frighten everybody in the National League. Red Sox are improved with Bregman. They're improved. I think they're a pretty decent team. I don't think they're better than the Yankees. The Orioles are a good team, good young players. They added veteran starters, but I don't think that they did enough pitching-wise to really compete for a championship. They will get back Bautista in the bullpen, which is going to be huge for them. I don't care who comes out of the Central, because historically the Yankees have owned the Central. And then in the West, I think Texas is going to have a bounce back. DeGrom's healthy. So I think they're going to be pretty good. Houston doesn't go away, although the team that we loathe and love all these years, it's completely different. No Tucker, no Verlander, no Bregman now. Really, Altuve's the one left from 2017. This is a completely different team. And, the Angels have made some improvements, but I don't think they're going to be a factor. So have I named anybody in the American League that you would be fearful of for the Yankees to get through and go to the World Series? So then my hypothesis is this. Soto could be looking at the Mets and looking at an owner who has told him, I'm going to spend whatever it takes to win. And he feels good about that, then the Mets are always going to be a competitive team. But you have to look at the road to the World Series, which is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to win it, but you want to be in it to win it. So in order for the Mets to win it, they got to get in it. And in order for them to get in it, there's a lot of real big potholes that they have to get through, or landmines, so to speak. So I think the road to the World Series is much more difficult for the Mets and any team in the National League than it is for the Yankees. I just don't see a powerhouse team in the American League that's going to really derail the Yankees. Now, you can lose a 5-game series to anybody. Pick the worst team in baseball, and you could actually lose that series. You just could. Pitcher gets hot, whatever the case may be. But I think Soto is just trying to put a lot of the emphasis on other things why he went to the Mets rather than the most obvious thing, which is all the perks and all the money he got. And I don't think that's anything to be embarrassed about. I don't. I don't know why players come up with these side angles rather than just say, you know what, the Mets offered me the most money. I like the vibe here. I think it's a really good team. I think we got a chance to do a lot of great things. Okay, that's it right there. But you tell me the last time a player said, listen, I went here because they paid me the most money. They don't. And for the most part, they're fibbing. Now, if money is fairly equal, then you could say the stuff like remember Mike Hampton all those years ago? I'm going to Colorado because the schools are better. Never was there more ridiculous thing uttered by a player about taking free agent money than the schools in Denver, Colorado. Like there aren't good schools anywhere. Let's say you don't like the public schools. You can go to the priciest private school in the world. In whatever city you live, you're going to find a great school if you want to pay big money. So that's what I'm meaning when people come up with these angles on why they take the decision to go somewhere and move it away from money. Listen, the Mets offered a truckload of money. They treated him like a king. They pretty much told him that they're going to treat him like a king. Hard to turn down. Instead, you come up with, I think the Mets have a better chance to get to the World Series than the Yankees. And if you look at the roadmap for both teams to get to the World Series, that's simply not true. Again, that's not making the argument that the Yankees are better than the Mets, and I think they are better than the Mets this year. That's not making that argument. So let's just say that they're fairly equal, which is what a lot of the projection systems say. Let's say that. Let's go with that. So if we say they're even, then we can say, well, let's look at, let's plug it into Google Maps, and what's the easiest way to get to a certain destination? The Yankee way or the Met way? And I think even Met fans, unless they're totally biased, would have to say the Yankees have the easier route. Even if they're equal teams. Now, if the Mets are in the American League, then he could say that. Because everything is cyclical. It's like, the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference in the NBA. Everything is cyclical. Things are going to look terrible, and loaded one way or the other. Right now, the National League is loaded, and has the most loaded team and possibly the most perfect team assembled in recent years in the Dodgers. Doesn't mean they're going to win the World Series, but you got to get past them. And even if you don't even face the Dodgers, you got to get past the Braves to win your division. You got to get past the Phillies to win your division. And the Dodgers aren't the only threat out of the West. There are a lot of teams that are threats out of the West. Now, when we look at the Yankees and the Mets, and things could happen. There's so much time in spring training. Yankees' first game against the Rays is going to be on the YES Network at 1 o'clock. Can't wait to do it. That's going to be fun. So it's starting. But the big separator between these two teams, the Yankees starting rotation, Cole, Fried, Rodon, Rookie of the Year, and Schmidt, with Stroman as number 6. The Mets, Manaea, Senga, Peterson, Holmes, Blackburn, and Griffin Canning. And Montas is going to miss the first couple of months of the season. Come on, what's better? Even Met fans, I need you to tell me the truth. What's better? I know the Mets have a great pitching lab, as do the Yankees. Mets have a really respected pitching coach in Jeremy Hefner, as do the Yankees with Matt Blake. So Hefner was able to get a lot out of a little last year, and the Mets were 2 wins away from going to the World Series. I know, the argument that Met fans get, now we have Juan Soto, and we fell just 2 wins short. Okay. But you were 3 outs away from losing to Milwaukee in the first round. And the games you lost against the Dodgers, you got punished. So, yeah, you took it 1 game more than the Yankees took the Dodgers. But the Yankees and the Dodgers, if you line up the stats from that World Series, remarkably equal. You line up the stats with the Mets and the Dodgers, not equal. And now the Dodgers got better. So, just say the Mets gave me a better deal than everybody else, and that's why I'm there. 1-800-919-3776. And let's go to the phones. This is where you get involved. Dennis in Center Reach. Dennis, talk to us.
Hey, Michael. Michael, I mean, you sound so arrogant right now, man. I hate even saying the term Yankee boy, but do you remember a couple years ago when DeGrom signed with Texas? Mm-hmm. And I remember you and Don, oh, come on. And he was at the press conference. He's like, oh, man, I love this team. I love Bochy. And you guys are like, oh, come on. He didn't go to Texas to win a championship. He went there for the money. They won a championship that year. So it's a baseball season. It's 162 games. It's a lot that goes on. Now, I have some numbers here for you. I have it pulled up. Aaron Judge. The Yankees are built around Aaron Judge, right? If he gets hurt, Michael, they are done. There's no way they could replace him. And I have his numbers pulled up here. He won the MVP last year. The year before that, 106 games played, missed 56 games. If he misses 56 games, Michael, do you think they're honestly going to make the playoffs?
They might make the playoffs, but they won't win a championship.
Right. And if he plays in the playoffs, they could still compete for it. But if he misses 56, they might make the playoffs.
They'd be in trouble.
Right, yeah. He wins the MVP. They have a great year. And then in 2021, he plays 148 games, but he only had a 6.1 WAR, Michael. That's still good, but that's not MVP WAR, right? MVP WAR is like, what, 8 and above? Obviously 10, he wins the MVP, but it's like 8 and above. So he was good, but he wasn't great. Or he was great, but he wasn't MVP. And then the year before that, with the COVID year, it was a 60-game season. He only played 28 games, and they obviously made the playoffs. They went out early. So I think with Juan Soto, what he means is, I think he believes that the Mets are built better for a long season. I think he went for the money, right? But I honestly think he has valid reasons to think why the Mets would be a better situation than the Yankees.
Well, it's a couple of interesting points you brought up, and really DeGrom was not part of that World Series team. He was hurt, but okay, I get
the team he went to.
I get it. I get the point you make. But he did go there. There's several reasons why DeGrom went there, and the main reason was the money. And there's no state taxes in Texas, and from what I heard, he didn't like New York. Okay, whatever the case may be. But you tell me, honestly, Dennis, you're a Met fan, tell me the truth. If Juan Soto stayed with the Yankees and teamed up with Aaron Judge, would there be any chance that the Mets, with just Juan Soto, would be better than the Yankees?
Of course, no, because the Yankees they have Cole, they have Judge, they have the better
but then you have to believe in yourself. So if he went with the Yankees, then how could he say, I think the Mets have a better chance? So by Juan Soto going to the Mets, Dennis, right? By Juan Soto going to the Mets, he makes them really, really good and a viable team. If he stayed with the Yankees, it wouldn't be close.
Michael, this is the thing. Obviously, every player in baseball, except Aaron Judge, of course, because he's one in a million, are going to the places for the money. You just can't say that to the fan base. But I think Soto's really looking at Garrett Cole. He missed a lot of games last year, right? And, I mean, when he played, he was still really good, but he's older. Who knows? A pitcher could always break down. Aaron Judge is great, but it's like I read out the games played. It's like once every year. Every other year he's getting hurt. So, obviously, if the Yankees offered the same, he would have been a Yankee. But I think
I don't know about that. You know what, Dennis? I'm not sure. I can't swear to that because I really think there were things about the Mets that he really liked. I think that, the Yankees weren't going to give him a suite, and I agree with them, and they weren't going to give him free reign of everything and security and his mom's wardrobe. They weren't going to do that. They weren't going to do that because what would you do when Aaron Judge says, well, I want mine as well? So, I mean, Dennis brings up some important points, but the only thing you're really resting on is Aaron Judge getting hurt. And Aaron Judge getting hurt the year before last year, which, completely submarined the Yankee season, he ran into a wall in Dodger Stadium. You can't tell me he's injury prone. He broke his toe or foot, whatever it was. So he has not had these injuries that you would say, well, he's hurt all the time. He should have won the MVP in 2017. He won the MVP 2 other times. So, I mean, you're resting your whole thing on if Aaron Judge gets hurt. Okay, so let's say this. If Juan Soto gets hurt, and he doesn't ever get hurt, but if Juan Soto finally does get hurt, then where are the Mets? You could say that about any team in baseball. If Ohtani gets hurt as a hitter, are the Dodgers a sure thing, the way everybody's making them out to be? If Betts gets hurt, if Freeman gets hurt, you can say that about anybody. You're picking out Aaron Judge because Aaron Judge is so important to the Yankees. But if Soto really wanted a sure ride to the World Series every single year, if he signs with the Yankees and teams up with Judge for the next 7 years, tell me that wouldn't be more of a sure thing than signing with the Mets? That's why I don't believe that. That's why I don't believe it. Let's go to Brian in New Jersey. Brian.
Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Good, Brian. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I wanted to talk about what Juan Soto said and how I completely disagree with it. Me personally, I think he was always going to go to the Mets, no matter what.
Well, I don't know about that. If they didn't offer the most money, I don't know if he would have gone.
You think even if he was somehow with the Mets already last year, he wouldn't have re-signed with them?
I think it came down to money. And the Mets offered an unbelievable record-setting deal. So even if the Mets had made the trade with the Padres, and then the Yankees came in with the highest offer when he was a free agent, I think he would have gone to the Bronx. But it's funny because Aaron Judge said, I think he always wanted to be there, which I don't quite understand. What was his involvement with the Mets that he always wanted to be there? What was his connection there? I think he was absolutely swept off of his seat by the Met presentation and the fact that Steve Cohen went to places that no other team went to. Because after the 5-year opt-out where the Mets could opt back in by giving him $5 million more per year, the contract's worth over $800 million. You can say whatever you want, schools, or the ability to win. That's what it comes down to. Now, I've had people in the know tell me that the Blue Jays would have offered the most if given the opportunity. But there are other variables in that decision. You're playing in Canada, the taxes, the exchange rate, customs, all of that. Doesn't seem like anybody wants to take the Blue Jays' money other than Anthony Santander. So I think that eliminated the Blue Jays. The Red Sox went up to about $700 million, but they didn't want to go where the Yankees and the Mets went. And the Yankee offer was for 16 years. The Mets offer was for 15 years. Because the Yankees are trying to spread out the contract a little bit more to just somewhat lower the average annual value. Let's go to Jacob in Union. Jacob.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Jacob.
Good. So one point that you made while you were making the argument that the Mets and Yankees are, pretty even teams, but you think the Yankees are better. If the Mets are projected, if not the same, if not a couple more wins as the Yankees in this harder division, harder league, what does that say about what they would be if they were in the American League?
Oh, I think
also,
they'd be if they were in the American League, Jacob. Then I think they would be battling the Yankees, and you couldn't say that either one had a clear path.
Well, I know. Well, I know that interleague play is more common, but my point is that if they're projected similar and they have to play harder teams throughout the year, that kind of is favoring the Mets in the projections.
Yeah, but no. I think the National League, Jacob, is top heavy. There's a lot of free wins there. I mean, you've got the Marlins, who are just dreadful. The Rockies, who are dreadful. They're terrible teams that you could pile wins up.
That's true. And you also said if Soto went back to the Yankees, you don't even think it would be close. So then why did the Mets sweep the Yankees last year?
I mean, did you see the lineup the Yankees ran out? I mean, those are individual games. And Jacob, you're a smart guy. Anybody could lose to any team. The Mets dominated the Yankees. But in one of those games, look at the Yankees starting lineup. It was a joke. Everybody was hurt. And by the way, Soto was hurt. So that's one of the reasons they dominated them. They dominated them. I mean, but you can't pull out, two sets of 2-game series and say that is something that you can judge whether a team is better than the other team. Yankees lost to terrible teams during the year. The Mets were not a terrible team. But, again, take a look at the lineup that the Yankees ran out there at Citi Field against the Mets. It was laughable. The whole team was hurt. They're playing nobody that was on the team in the World Series, essentially. No, that's one of the reasons the Mets should have battered them, and they did. Let's go to Jamie in Yonkers. Jamie.
Hello,
Jamie.
We met years ago, and I think you're a great guy, and I will just say, rest in peace, Jack Dorian, who was one of the greats, if you could connect the dots there.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, we were much younger men at that time. Anyway.
Had a lot more fun.
No comment. I don't disagree with anything you said. The only thing that I want to point out here, and I want to talk about all sports and all athletes here. There's a 26-year-old, I'm going to use the word kid, who had microphone shoved in his face, who never went to high school, okay, in the traditional American sense, that is coached not only by the team, but by Boris and his people. What do you think he's going to say?
Well, I mean, Jamie, there's an easy way to say that. Listen, I liked everything about the Mets. I want to come here. Instead, you're going to say they have a better chance to go to the World Series than the Yankees? That's not true. So, I mean, by the way, don't disparage Soto, though, Jamie. He's a really smart guy.
Okay, that's fine. And
he's really comfortable with his English, too.
I do have one important question. All I'm saying is I don't think that's a transgression nearly as bad as, for example, in a lunch break room, Michael K. taking a screaming hot mug of Bigelow tea and pouring it on Peter Rosenberg's bald head, and having not even Don LaGreca report Michael K. to Human Resources.
You know what? That is a much. Jamie, you're right. That's a much worse transgression. It never happened. I thought about it, but it never happened. But that was an interesting way to go about it. If the Mets coached them and Boris coached them, that was the wrong thing to say. I just think, but you can say whatever you want. We want athletes to be provocative. He was provocative, and you know what? He's talking up his team. I'm not ripping him for saying it. I'm just debating what he said. I'm not going to rip him. First of all, he does not get my ire. I don't dislike Juan Soto. I had good experiences over the last year. I don't blame him for going to the Mets. I don't blame him. I don't think it's any terrible transgression that he did. I don't think it's that he didn't like the Yankees. I think the Mets blew him away. He has every right. He was a free agent. He turned down a lot of offers and bet on himself. Turned down $440 million from the Nationals. And you know what? He almost doubled that. Good for him. I don't have anything against Juan Soto, nor should any Yankee fan. Listen, you could feel hurt that he left you after you showed him all that love, but as I told you throughout the season, it wasn't about the love the bleacher creatures were showing him. It was never about that. You know that anybody who plays for the Yankees is going to have a good experience. They have top-flight facilities. They get treated like kings. The fans are unbelievable. The fans gave him nothing but love, but when it came down to it, who gave him the most money and the best package? It was the Mets. And if you put yourself in Juan Soto's shoes, you know what? You'd probably do the same thing. You'd probably do the same thing because he had no allegiance to the Yankees. Aaron Judge took less money to stay with the Yankees. You know why? He had an allegiance. His entire adult life he's been with the Yankees. He was drafted by the Yankees. So it meant something to him. He wants to be on that wall in left center field. He wants number 99 out there, and he wants a plaque. And he wants to finally win a championship in the Bronx. Those are things that are important to him. For Juan Soto, it was just a way station, just a stop on the way to the biggest payday. Doesn't make him a bad guy. He did what most of us would do. He took the best deal.